Hello, and welcome to your very own Tech and More. This video is going to be the last one of the series Top Test Automation Interview Questions and Answers on Selenium WebDriver. So, if you haven't watched our videos from, for this playlist from the part one, I would suggest that you go and do that. The reason being that we have an entire question bank of 50 questions with the answers. So, that will help you prep better for the interview. Also, one more thing very quickly that we have been uh, we have been running some live sessions on Salesforce development, business analysis, quality analysis, test automation, AI associate, all these different aspects, and we make you basically job ready. So if you're interested to learn these things, and from me and one of my partner, we have this in collaboration. I'll share a link to that particular website wherein you can explore the different courses. So go and have a look at that and register there. We'll reach out to you. Cool. So without wasting any more time, for the last video, let us go to the last set of 10 questions very quickly. The first question of this video, or the 41st question of the entire playlist, is how to handle alert pop-ups in Selenium. So, uh, what are alert pop-ups? First of all, let me go to this website, which I find quite helpful for learning or test automation. You have these different web elements present here. So, when I click on this button, which is click me, there's going to be a pop-up, right? That is termed as a pop-up. Now, how do you handle this particular action in Selenium WebDriver? That is, I go to this website, I click on this button, I want to fetch the text of this pop-up, and I want to click on OK. How can this be done using test automation or using Selenium WebDriver? You have the code in front of you. Just pay attention from line number 62 to line number 69. So 62, 63, 64, and 65 are the usual ones. You navigate, maximize the window, you navigate to the URL, you click on the element, and so on. From line number 66 to line number 68, pay some attention. First of all, you're switching your driver to the alert, and then you fetch the text of it, right? And then that text has to be stored in this variable that we have declared here. Then in line number 67, we are printing out that text, whichever is there. That is, I guess it was this one. You click the button, right? Then uh, in line number 68, basically your driver is switching to the alert and then accepting it. It could be accept, it could be dismiss as well. If you want to accept, you click on the OK button. If you want to dismiss, you click on the cancel button. But in our case, we only have the accept button, so that works, right? So this code is already there in this particular presentation. So if you want to go and access and practice it at your own level, please go ahead and do it, right? So next time someone questions you that how do you handle alert pop-ups in Selenium, you know the answer now. Perfect, cool. Then the next question, what is the significance of JavaScript executor in Selenium? This is quite a critical question. It basically means that you have this concept of JavaScript executor, but what is its significance? So, and this is how JavaScript executor object is defined and all those things. What JavaScript executor is, how to define all of that is already defined and explained well in one of the playlists that we have, that is Salesforce automation testing. So if you haven't watched that, go ahead and have a look at that. But I'm sure if you're coming for interview questions here, you already have the basic knowledge of Selenium WebDriver. Cool. Coming back to the answer, JavaScript executor helps you to execute JavaScript on the browser. It's as simple as that. That means sometimes the default simulation events, that is, in very simple words, the basic actions like click or get text, all these things cannot be interacted plainly by Selenium because they are JavaScript based. At that point of time, if you basically instantiate an object of JavaScript and then you do your basic actions like click or get text and all those things, they can be handled. So wherever your actions are not being handled or are not being interacted with in a normal way, and you get an error which might say element click intercepted, right? Again, we have talked about the different exceptions in the videos of the playlist. Go and have a look at that. But yes, if you want to solve that issue, that is element click intercepted, then you use this concept of JavaScript executor. That is the utility of it. Perfect. Now, next question. Is Chrome driver a class or an interface? This is asked a lot, and I have seen this from my experience that a lot of people find it difficult to explain. So I want to help you right here. Chrome driver is a class that extends the WebDriver interface. So WebDriver is your interface, and the properties of WebDriver are basically extended, basically taken, or I would not say taken, but used by Chrome driver, right? The Chrome driver class extends the remote WebDriver class. This is important, which implements all the abstract methods of the WebDriver interface. That is, for example, you have the different methods that you use .click, send keys, .get. All of them are already in the remote WebDriver class. And then Chrome driver basically extends it, right? So next time someone questions you, you say simply, uh, Chrome driver is a class that extends the WebDriver interface. That's all. If you're able to answer this one line, I think you're good to go. Cool. Then next question: how can test reports be created to analyze test execution results? This is very, very sort of a frequently asked question that I've seen. And there is one more related question, which is going to be the next one. But yes, for now, how can test reports be created to analyze test execution results? So it says Selenium does not provide any options to create HTML report. This is important. You will not have this innate quality in Selenium that will allow you to create HTML reports. However, if you're using TestNG or JUnit, TestNG or JUnit, you can create HTML based reports. For TestNG, it supports default emailable HTML reports. So when you use TestNG, you sort of send the reports on some email ID. So they are default emailable HTML reports that are sent, right? So if somebody questions you that how can test reports be created to analyze your execution results, you say we have this capacity using TestNG or JUnit, right? The next question, which is somehow related to this one, is what is the utility of a Selenium grid? I think that question went somewhere else. Give me a second. Hmm. My bad. Question number 45 and question number 46 are correlated to each other. So, sorry for that. So, question number 45 says, what is the utility of Selenium grid? So, Selenium grid is used for the execution of WebDriver scripts on remote machines. That is, I'll tell you one thing, when you have this project, when you're working on a real-time project, you will realize that there are multiple test cases. There are this numerous hundreds of test cases, right? So executing all your test cases, even if parallelly, becomes very, very mammoth of a task on one machine. So you basically want to run your scripts parallelly on different machines. It can be real machines or virtual machines. That is, you might want four different laptops or four different systems to run your test cases to fasten up your process, right? That is one of the utility of Selenium Grid. Then there's a related question to question number 45, that is Selenium Grid. There's a concept of Sauce Labs or Browser Stack, or a tool, I would say, not the concept, but the tool. Uh, this gets asked a lot, that have you worked on Sauce Labs or Browser Stack? If you haven't, you can say that I have the working knowledge of Sauce Labs or Browser Stack. I have not worked on it, but I am more than willing to learn it. I know what it does, right? What you will say, Sauce Labs or Browser Stack helps with Selenium test by providing a cloud platform to run automated test. That is the keyword across different browsers, operating systems, and devices. By how these two questions are correlated to each other, you might question that, okay, this is the same thing that Selenium Grid is also doing, so is Sauce Lab and Browser Stack doing. What is the difference? It's a cloud-based tool, number one. Number two, they are paid. That is, Sauce Labs or Browser Stack are paid. Whenever something is paid, you have to buy the licenses. Of course, you pay something, but you get in return a lot of things. That is, you will have one dedicated person who will always be available to you to resolve your questions or doubts or queries wherever you get stuck, right? So, due to these different reasons, wherein you have these licenses and all, sort of a POC or sort of a support from some entity, Sauce Labs or Browser Stack has become more successful for parallel executions on different browsers, operating systems, and devices at the same time, right? Cool. Then, next question. What triggers the stale element reference exception? There could be two reasons. The first one is the selected web element to be interacted with is no longer present on the HTML page. For an example, you have a form. There's a drop-down language and there's a drop-down country. On the basis of the language that you select, the countries will be shown to you, for example, right? Now, you selected maybe one language and then dynamically the country values change. Now, before you go ahead and select the second one, let's suppose you select the second language, and then you go ahead and you want to select the country again, but somehow the language selection is now again changed. And that is when you're running your test case, right? At that point of time, an exception, that is stale element reference exception, will be thrown, saying that the Selenium was not able to identify that web element on the DOM, right? Then second question, oh sorry, the second pointer is the selected web element was destroyed completely and recreated, right? As an example, you go to Amazon.com, you add a product, and then you go to add to cart, right? But somehow that product was removed from the inventory by the vendor, right? And now you run your test case. So ideally, it will see that element is present on the DOM, but it is not able to access it because it is removed from somewhere else, right? That is that is when you will again be triggered with the stale element reference exception, right? So that's these are some pointers. That is all in all, stale element reference exception is thrown whenever that particular element which was present earlier is now not available on the DOM. In simple words, one tip that I always give: do not over explain your answers. If I, as an interviewer, if I'm asking you that when or under what situation is stale element reference exception triggered, you will simply say whenever the web element that was present earlier is now not accessible on the DOM or is not present on the DOM, that is when this exception will be triggered. That's all. Then if they ask you for questions or different conditions, then you talk about these two pointers that I've spoken about, right? Cool. Then next question, how do you perform drag and drop operations in Selenium? So to perform drag and drop operations, you must use the actions class. We have spoken about actions class again in the Salesforce automation testing playlist. But yes, overall the methods which are helpful, one will be click and hold. The other will be move to element. So basically, when you perform drag and drop options, first of all, you click on one element, right? You hold on it for a while, and then you basically drag it from one place to the other, that is the target element. So that at that point of time, you'll use move to element. And then finally, when you basically just sort of remove your hand from the trackpad, that is when you use the release method, right? So this basically will simulate the drag and drop action for you. Cool. Then next question. What is the utility of desired capabilities in Selenium? Desired capabilities is quite common to use, and this is majorly used in situations wherein you want to customize or change the browser according to your need, right? And when I say customize the browser, what do I mean? What parameters do I mean? For example, if you want to change the version, if you want to change the platform, or if you want to change the browser capabilities, right? That is when desired capabilities is used. If let's suppose you want to change the version and you want to test your functionality on a particular version, that is when desired capabilities is a very good thing to use, right? So that is desired capabilities for you. Then the last question of this video and this entire playlist is, what is the utility of browser cookies and how to handle these? So these are some pointers that you need to keep in your mind. Managing cookies is crucial for simulating interactions on websites that require session data or login. So first of all, cookies are very important for you to simulate interactions on websites, they wherein you require the already used data or the already stored login information, right? Then the cookie class and WebDriver's options interface allows you to create, modify, and delete cookies. All in all, the cookie class, number one, and the WebDriver's interface. So there are two things. Number one, class cookie, and then interface, that is options. Both of them combined together will help you to create, modify, and delete cookies. Now there are some methods to do that. If you want to add an cookie, if you want to add a cookie, you have this method which is add cookie. If you want to alter a cookie, you have this get cookie named, and then you this method wherein you can use it. Then to delete, you have this method which is delete cookie, and so on, right? So honestly, you need not know the entire implementation story of these methods. Even if you're just able to answer these methods, I think you're good to go. Okay. So yeah, I think these are some questions that will be helpful for you. So till now we have discussed almost, not almost, complete 50 questions, which can be a very good question bank for you if you're prepping for your next test automation Selenium WebDriver interview. So share it with your folks, share it with people who you think can benefit out of this particular playlist. And I hope that these videos are helping you. Any questions, any concerns, do let us know. And next, I'm planning to come up with a podcast wherein we'll be talking about the famous myths revolving around software testing in general. So stay tuned for that. Number one. Number two, the future pipeline project is wherein I'm planning to now help you set up version control for your test automation suite. using SourceTree, and will help you how to set up Jenkins, right? And then I'm planning to come up with some more sessions on Jira and business analysis live sessions. So a lot of good stuff coming up. Stay tuned, and just keep on checking our new content. And you have any specific concerns or specific queries or specific requests, feel free to comment. Of course, we will not be able to deliver all the things at one go, but we'll add it to our pipeline and we'll keep on working on it. Right? So yeah, that's all. And yeah, see you in the next video. Bye bye.